From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 165. Today's show is brought to you by PDF Pen, Pingdom, and Ting. My name is Mike Hurley. I'm back in London, and I'm joined by Federico Viticci from Italy. Hello, Federico.
Hello, Mike from Italy. Hi.
And from Tennessee, Mr. Stephen Hackett.
I don't get a country, just a state?
I changed it up for everybody. I went for London, so I went for my city, and then Federico got his country, and then you got the state. There was a method to my madness.
It's good. It's a little sad not being together.
Mm-hmm.
But it also feels more. It also feels like we're back in the groove of things. We were talking earlier. The iOS 11 review is done. Federico's given us talk. He's back at work. It's just like I feel like we're kind of back in our respective places, and it feels good. It's good to be back.
But last week was maybe the best episode of all time.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that we kept the show going after that. I thought we would just end it.
We could just reboot it again. What should we call it next time?
No, do not want to name the show again.
Prompt, connected, and I don't know. The Three Guy Podcast, something like super generic.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's it. That's what we're looking for. Steven, how was your MacBook Pro?
What if it was like Tech Podcast?
Yeah, that's
what
good.
If the name was like Tech Podcast, but with an adjective in front? That'd be a stupid thing to name a show. Anyways, I'm just kidding. ATP, we love you. So you asked about my MacBook Pro. If you listened to the show or if you were there, you have been following along my tale of woe. When we were in Chicago, Casey Johnson wrote this amazing piece on the outline. I sent it to Instapaper because the outline's web design makes my head hurt. But basically chronicling her storied history with this keyboard. And that finally prompted me to write about mine and some other people as well. So mine, I have a repair set up. I'm waiting for the part to come in. I didn't want to send it to the repair center. I'm going to have them do it in the store. So I will follow up when it's done, but for right now it's here on my desk. The iKey is still broken, but there's progress being made. We're moving in the right direction. You
told me earlier about the fact that you were waiting for a part to come in, and I just have this image in my mind of just one iKey in a little plastic bag being sent from somewhere to Memphis.
No, it unfortunately is getting a whole top case. Which we'll get into that once I get it done.
Which is good, right? I mean, you having the entire part replaced. I think it's good news, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I kind of get to hit the reset button again, and then get another 9 months. So,
but it seems like a lot of parts for one broken key, right? Like it feels like a lot. We're just gonna. You broke a key. We're gonna have to replace your entire laptop now.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Settle in, children. I'm going to tell you a story.
Oh, boy.
Before Apple went to the unibody construction they've been using for a long time, it used to be really simple. Like the top case was separate from the bottom case, and if something really bad happened, just undo the screws, put a top case on. Like the MacBook, the white and black plastic MacBook, super easy to do a top case. It's like 13 screws. But with the unibody construction, everything is built in to the unibody, and then the bottom cover is like a thin sheet, like where the feet and stuff are. That's just a thin cover. Everything else is kind of built upside down into the top case. So the keyboard is actually part of the top case. They aren't separate parts, and so they basically will put my laptop face down on the bench and have a new top case, and basically scoop out all the guts of my laptop and pour them in to the new top case. It's like having a skin transplant. Like, all your insides are the same, but you're in a new shell.
Right. Is that a thing?
Have you been watching a medical show? Where are these? Like, what's going on with you today?
I don't. It's just the analogy that popped into my. I don't know. Do you have a better analogy?
Is a skin transplant even possible?
I don't think
we can get a skin graft, right? Isn't that where they take skin from like your butt and put it on your arm or something?
Yes.
Well, really, they do that?
Yeah.
Really?
Like if you've had like fire damage, like if you've been really badly burnt, or you've had like a bad accident, you can take skin from like one part of the body and put it onto another part of the body.
What I'm talking about though is like a full outer replacement. I feel like medically that's probably not super possible, but
yeah, that's pretty amazing though. So yeah, jumping from skin to your MacBook. So yeah, that feels like a super counterintuitive way to fix a computer. Like, imagine if your car broke and like a single tire broke, and you had to leave to change the entire structure of the car.
They have to remove the chassis. Oh, you popped a tire?
Oh, sir, I'm sorry. You a tire broke. Oh well, we gotta send the car back.
We gotta start over. I'm afraid.
Yeah,
That's like. I mean, I get it. These unibody constructions are beautiful and possibly they can withstand more damage than the old way of making
unless
computers.
that damage is to a key.
But
Can't do that.
having to change the entire case for a single key. I mean, it was probably easier on my MacBook Air, or maybe not. I don't know.
No, it's unibody.
But still, so yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's because on mine the damage is to the mounting points where the key attaches. So like if the key itself, the keycap was broken, that's super easy. But the thing attaches to the top case with like 6 little pins, and I think 2 of those on mine are damaged, and so that's the issue.
There's no way to get in there without opening it up, and if you open it up, you break the whole thing, right? Like you haven't really got a choice.
Yeah, it's not ideal. There's more to the story, but I will save that for a future follow up. But so yeah, it is underway.
What a saga!
Not over yet. I will check in when it's actually fixed. Google has been doing some stuff with their iOS apps, but it's not the sort of stuff that we want. So the Google Search app, which I forget exists. It's where the Assistant is, right? The Google Assistant is in that app?
No, I think they actually have a Google Assistant.
App.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Google app is like when you get the Google homepage, of course, and you get this custom view to navigate Google search results, which is actually very nice. And you also get what used to be called Google Now, and it's now called something Google Assistant. I don't know. It's basically like suggestions based on your web activity and Gmail messages. For example, I get shipment notifications from my Amazon purchases, which is really useful because it tends to be really accurate and it works really well.
You can prep the baker. The stuff is coming.
Oh, that's another. Come on, don't bring it up again. What if the guy listens to Connected and now he connects the dots and well, yeah, I guess so. Just
you spilled those beans, not me.
Yeah.
So that app has drag and drop. Google Chrome, which no one uses, I don't know who would be so silly enough to use that on iOS, has drag and drop, but the Google Docs app does not.
This is one of those things where I have a little bit more hope than I did before for Google Docs.
They're moving quickly.
Because this is the method of kind of the way that Google updates. They start with like the less essential apps, then they move on to Chrome. Then eventually they get to Google Docs, right? Like this is how it happened with Split View. Like they kind of slowly move this stuff out because, I mean, we spoke about this a few weeks ago. We spoke about it a bunch of times in the past. Google Docs seems like it is an incredibly complex application, and like any change they have to make, it seems like it is really difficult to do because it's running so much custom stuff. But the Chrome implementation works really well. It does what I would expect it to. I can drag URLs. I mean, you could already do like the dragging of URLs like out of the app and in the app, but you kind of had to like have the text cursor in the bar before you could drop the URL. But now it just pops up with a little plus button and you can just drop it in, or you can put it into the tab area and it just opens a new tab. So that's all working exactly as I would have hoped.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Mike. Because I know I've seen you use Google Chrome on your iPads and iPhone. Can you do with drag and drop the thing where you select some text on a web page and when you drag it out, say into Bear or into Apple Notes, it keeps the formatting of the selection?
Surprisingly, yes, it does. I tested this today. So, like, I dragged a block of text from the Relay FM website. So it had bold for the headings, and it had a bunch of links, right? Some are in lines, some are, just some are extra, just like URLs or whatever. And it did it perfectly. So I was able to to drag it into. I dragged it into one of the Shelf apps. I dragged it into Workshelf, and then dragged it into Notes. Just so I figured, let's put it through a couple of different apps, see what happens. And I dropped it into Notes, and all the links were in line, and the headings were bolded, and everything. So,
very nice.
For my opinion, like from the usage that I've had so far, it seems to work just as good as Safari. So they've done a good job
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, because I mean, of course, Google Chrome on iOS needs to use the same rendering engine as Safari, so they're using, I guess, some variation of WK WebView, the API that a bunch of other iOS apps use, including stuff like Editorial, for example. But I wanted to double check that they were not doing some custom hacks to prevent that kind of drag and drop
No.
feature.
It
So
doesn't seem
that's
so.
nice. That's very nice.
Yeah, I'm happy with
okay.
it. Like, I'm going to use that a bunch. I hadn't really tried it because it wasn't really something that I thought about. Like, just because I'm used to stuff like that not working on iOS. Like, I found a thing really, just like really annoying in my mind that I can take that text, copy it, paste it, and it loses the formatting. But if I drag and drop, it keeps the formatting. Like, why? Why?
Guess which framework was really thought through and took a few years of development.
Copy
and which
paste,
one
right? Copy paste
has been untouched since like iOS 4.
It's mind-boggling. Because I still thought that none of this stuff was working until I thought, let me drag and drop it. Oh, it works perfectly. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's fine. Federico, you've been on a little bit of a crusade. So you put this tweet up, I guess yesterday. You're running a Twitter poll of the worst iOS app experience.
Yes.
And what prompted this, and how's it going?
Well, what prompted this is that each one of these 4 apps, whenever I open, whether it's so the 4 apps are Slack, Google Docs, Dropbox, and Twitter for iPad. And whenever I open one of these, I'm something goes wrong, or I'm so upset that it's so bad. Either the design is bad, or the features are bad, or the performance is terrible. And so, in my mind, these are the 4 horsemen of the worst on iOS. Whenever you see these apps approaching, bad things are going to happen. And I wanted to double check with followers on Twitter, what do you think is the worst among these really bad apps? And so right now we are 2 days left and 1,700 something
Can I
votes.
just clarify something super quick about
Yes.
the phrasing of this, like really bad apps?
Yeah.
I don't think they're really bad apps. They're just apps
they
that
are.
are not great at using conventional iOS things or new APIs and new frameworks. And there is something that links all of these applications together, and it's cross-platform. Like big cross-platform apps, and I think that tends to be the problem. Like they're either doing custom stuff so it works everywhere, or they're using a bunch of web views so it'll work everywhere, and they're like trying to make the experience consistent. So I just wanted to say I don't think that these apps are like inherently bad, right? Because I've used a bunch of really bad apps. They are just apps that are not good at staying up to date. Is that maybe a fairer way to describe them? Do you think, Federico?
Well, for me,
You're
these
just
are
saying
just
bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, for me,
Okay.
anything that doesn't take advantage of the native stuff is just bad.
Okay.
And there's varying levels of bad that I can tolerate in my life, but these are really bad. That's how my scale goes. And the worst part is that I need to use these apps because there's either they have no open API, or there's no alternative, or the alternatives that exist, like Tweetbot, for example, they don't have full access to the native service functionalities, like Twitter polls, for example, which I needed to create in the Twitter for iPad app. Anyway, right now we are at 1,700 votes, more or less, and Google Docs is not surprisingly winning the race so far with 37% of votes. Trailing behind Google Docs is Twitter for iPad with 30%. And this is the real intriguing part to me that I want to see how it ends. But Dropbox is third with 16%, and actually Slack is third with 17%, and Dropbox is last with 16%. So only 1% dividing Slack, which in my opinion is an incredibly bad iOS application, from Dropbox, which used to be a kind of decent app, but it's been getting so bad for me. Not just in the sense of, this is not a case of bad performance from Dropbox, but just bad design and bad priorities.
Yeah, I would argue that like the Dropbox app is mostly good, but they are making bad decisions, right? Like they integrate with the system. They seem to do a lot of that stuff, but their badness right now is coming from their horrible redesign stuff, because this is leaking into the app in weird and stupid ways. Like these images, these like hand-drawn scribbly images that keep popping up all over the place.
that doesn't make it. I mean, that's a poor design choice, but doesn't make it a bad app.
My point is that is a stylistic change, whatever. But it seems to me like that focus on doing this fancy redesign and letting your creative energy flow is working against increasing the functionality of the app. For example, the other day I was listening to this audio file, and I noticed that the title of the file was truncated in the title bar, and there were no other controls, no artwork, but just this illustration in the middle. And you could say, well, it used to be that way before too. You used to have a different illustration, so it's not like Dropbox changed anything. My point being, if you took the time to redesign the screen, why not increase the options? Why not make the experience, the practical experience, better? Instead, you just prioritized having these fancy illustrations coming to the app and replace whatever was in place before. But you took the time to change that screen, so why not make it better instead of just look different? Because, I mean, someone had to code the image to go in there, so you clearly have people working on the app and making changes, but you're making bad changes. You're making the wrong changes, in my opinion. So this is the Twitter poll we're running. 2 days left. I think Google Docs is going to win, if only because there's so much baggage when it comes to Google Docs. It seems like it's the clear winner. But I want to see what happens in the, maybe Twitter for iPad. I mean, it also like an excellent example of really not understanding the platform that it runs on and, doesn't take advantage of the big iPad screen in any meaningful way. But I want to see between Slack and Dropbox what happens, because, Slack is also... I was expecting, honestly, Slack to be in second place. So we'll see.
This is a good experiment, I think.
Yeah.
My vote went for Dropbox, but my vote went for Google Docs, I should say, by the way. I voted Google Docs.
Can I vote for... It seems like I cannot vote for...
Well, you can just say, what do you think is the worst?
Personally, I want to say Slack.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Why?
Yeah. So many glitches and bugs all day long on every single release. They say they fixed something, but it never is fully true. And I know the software is never really perfect, but this is an especially bad case of ever-growing bugs around the app. Like yesterday, for example, I discovered that if I open Slack and I hit the text field and then I start typing right away with my keyboard connected with a smart connector, it skips characters. So I need to open Slack, wait a few seconds, hit the text field, and then start typing. So if you do that really quickly, like the entire app sort of slows down and it doesn't accept text. Or, missing notifications, or getting a black screen when you open the app from a notification and having to force quit. There's so many things going wrong with Slack. And I'm also a paying subscriber because I love Slack the service, but it's a really bad iOS app.
Yeah, like the underlying service and what it enables is really good, but I mostly agree that, like, my biggest problem with Slack is emoji. Like, I cannot fathom why they are so bad at adding new emoji. We have a whole new set of emoji coming out in like a few weeks' time. They have not added into the app support for the previous set. And they are, like, so much of their brand is focused around it. Like, so, like, you don't get these emojis in the emoji picker or in their, like, text selection stuff. You have to add them in. And then when you do, they stay really small. They don't get bigger like other... Like, your brand is emoji. You use it everywhere. Like, how... it's maddening to me.
Imagine if there was a standard that controlled how text is shared between devices and platforms. So you could call it something like single code or
universal code. Universal code.
Or universal code.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting name. Universal code.
It's a little long. Maybe we could shorten it somehow.
Maybe it could be shorter. I'm not sure how, but it could be shorter.
What about codeversal?
Maybe universal co. That could be an idea.
That's good.
Okay, let's go with that. All right.
Stephen, which one do you think?
I've voted for Google Docs.
Okay.
I think for the same reasons we've talked about, but also my favorite is that if you open an app or open a document, sometimes it takes like 5 or 6 seconds for it to start syncing the changes to the dock. So you open it and you freak out that none of your changes are there, and then you just wait, and then it pulls them in. The performance on it is really hit or miss.
What I think you're actually thinking, you open the dock and you're like, oh my God, none of my co-hosts have done any work. And you're just sitting there thinking, none of them put any notes in.
Yes.
That's what it is.
So
it's
bad.
It's not that like, oh, I open it and my changes aren't there. You open it and think, those lazy bums haven't done any work. That's what's actually going on.
Yeah.
I know how you think. All right, today's show is brought to you in part by our friends at Smile, and I want to talk to you about the PDF Pen family of products. PDF Pen equips you with everything that you need for more powerful PDF editing. And there's a whole family, there's a whole suite of products that you can get. So you can get PDF Pen 3 for iPad and iPhone, which is the ultimate mobile PDF editing tool. It is with you at all times. You can take it in your pocket, you can take it in your bag. It's very simple to use. It's like a Swiss Army knife because it has all of the tools that you're looking for, and you can have it with you on the go. You can add notes, comments, cloud annotations, you can fill out and sign interactive PDF forms, and with their equipped services, they're all ready. They're ready for iOS 11. This is a great app. PDF Pen 3 is a fantastic app that is ready for drag and drop. So you can drag and drop text and images in and out. I love that it's got great support for files, so you can very easily edit in place, and you can drag and drop stuff in, and it's fantastic. I'm a big fan of PDF Pen 3. There's also PDF Pen Scan Plus, which is a great app that lets you scan receipts and things like that. So it's a great way to add OCR to your mobile toolkit, and it's like dealing with tasks like scanning receipts and uploading them and all that sort of stuff is done really easily. I was using that a bunch when I was traveling. And of course, there is PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro for the Mac as well, which has some new fantastic features, like the ability to create PDFs, export them to Word, and then back to PDF again, which I really like, the ability to move those back and forth, because all the time I get Word documents that I need to sign somehow, which is kind of a difficult thing to take care of. And if you've been thinking about going paperless, now's the time to do it. With PDF Pen, you have everything that you need to break the cycle of scanning, printing, faxing, signing, and all of that mess. See what the PDF Pen family can do for you. Get everything that you need for more powerful PDF editing by going to smilesoftware.com/podcast and let them know that you came to them from this show. So go to smilesoftware.com/podcast and they'll ask you, how did you hear about this? And you just say, connected. Thank you so much to PDF Pen from Smile for their support of this show. So Federico, as well as having a poll for our listeners, you also have a quiz that you would like people to
the way you say
in.
you make it sound like I have a poll in my house.
You have like it's a Festivus poll that you keep at home that people can come and see and celebrate. No, you have a quiz. I don't really know how you would describe this.
Or quiz.
Something like this. What have you got? What you sent me and Stephen an image. The image will be in the show notes. And you said, I want you and our listeners to guess what I'm using this for. And what it is a box with an NVIDIA Shield Pro 4K HDR media server.
Yes, it's an Android TV device.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's a NVIDIA Shield Pro. It runs Android TV, and it's the one of my latest purchases from Amazon. I mean, besides the Amiibo, and I would like you both and our listeners throughout the week to try to guess why, because I realized that this might be an unusual device for me. I mean, it runs Android TV, an NVIDIA Shield. I never talked about this before. So why do you think I bought this?
I think it is because it is a Plex media server. It can do that. It is a device with an inbuilt Plex media server. So I think you have bought a device which has 4K HDR. So when you get a 4K HDR TV, because I don't think you have one yet, you can use that. But you can also host all of your Plex videos on there, so you can watch them on the TV, and then also when you're on the go, and it's all in one thing rather than needing to do it all on a Synology.
But I already have a Plex server on the Synology.
Yeah, but you always move stuff around, Federico. This is something that you do. You have a thing, and you set it up, and then you're like, oh, I could optimize this, and then you move on to another thing, and you do the same thing you were doing before, but on something else.
I don't know who would do that.
So I think that you don't want to host it on the Synology anymore, and you want to do it all on the NVIDIA Shield instead.
What do you think, Steven?
Honestly, Plex was one of my choices. The other is maybe some sort of like political statement about tvOS and gaming.
Political statement. Okay.
You know? So yeah, I don't really know. I don't know much about the NVIDIA Shield, so I'm gonna defer to Mike and say it's Plex / you being bored with your setup and changing things.
So, Federico, how can people send in their guesses?
Send an email. Send an email to Mike.
Nope, don't do that. Just want you to know, if you send an email to me with your guess, I will archive the email. I don't want that. All right. Twitter is way better for this as a system. We can either select an account for it to tweet to, or we could use a hashtag. There are many better ways.
So, okay, tweet to _connectedfm and use the hashtag TeachyShield.
Okay.
That's what you need to use.
Okay.
Teachy Shield.
And we'll follow up next week. Yeah.
We'll put all of this in the show notes, including like where you should send a tweet to and everything.
Yes, perfect. All right, this will be fun. And if you want to issue your official guess, you need to. This is the entire point of the game. It's a very specific reason why I'm doing this. So I want you to try to guess the specific motivation behind my decision to use this device.
So I'm assuming that me and Steven have not gone specific enough yet. So I'm gonna spend some time thinking on that.
Okay, so it needs to be there's really one single specific reason.
Oh, okay.
And that is the reason why I bought this specific device.
Wow.
So so try to guess that, and we'll follow up next week.
Okay, I'm going to spend some more time thinking about this. I'll send, if I have any better ideas, I'll send mine with that hashtag too. Yeah, I can see now that I'm going too broad. No, you've said that. Very specific. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're thinking about this now.
I'm going now. I'm going to be, you know that the meme of Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with like the papers on the wall and the red string. That's going to be me now for the rest of the week.
I can tell you that you can easily guess if you go back either in the connected episodes where we discussed my home media server setup and where you. Also, maybe on Mac Stories Weekly, but if you take a look at the products and devices that I mentioned, I think it's easy to guess why. And it's easy to guess the reason why. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see if anyone gets it.
All right.
We'll see. I'm not sure.
So, Federico, you're not the only person who bought something with an unclear reason.
Okay. All right.
So the bridge keyboard, which
talked
a lot about on relay shows. There are a couple links to upgrade episodes where Jason and Mike, you tried one too, didn't you?
So what happened is Jason bought this keyboard. He had problems with it. They sent him a new one. Then he professed it to be the best keyboard that he's ever used for his iPad. So I bought one and went through 2 units that didn't work, which is, and we found out after doing this and getting feedback from listeners, this is a very normal thing for Bridge. It tends to be that their products, most of the time, do not work properly.
So that's with the 12.9. They announced a while back that there was going to be a 10.5-inch version. That's the iPad that I have. And, I take Jason's recommendation seriously. I said, hey, you know what? I should check this out. He likes it. We have similar taste in what we like. And so I ordered one, and it came in earlier this week, and I have some early thoughts. So there'll be a link in the show notes to go look at this keyboard. But basically, when your iPad is sitting in it, it looks like a MacBook. Like it is gray with black keys.
Yep.
It has a function row with keys on it. And I think the idea is it's supposed to feel like you're typing on not the 2016 garbage keyboard, but the good one before it.
Mm-hmm.
The 10.5, unfortunately, inherited some of the flaws of its bigger sibling. So I have not had the Bluetooth dropping, keystroke missing problems that other people have had, but I've had some other issues. My favorite is that some of the keys squeak when you depress them.
Oh, God.
So the D key is by far the worst. And if you look at it head on, the D key is not centered in the little channel that it depresses into.
You need to replace the top case.
I know, it needs a new top case. It rubs on the right side, and it goes. I should have. It's inside. I should have brought it out to the office so you could hear it. It's like eek, eek, eek every time you hit the D key. A couple other keys do it. The D key is by far the worst.
It's like this keyboard is crying as you're typing on it.
I am too. It's hard to tell who's crying harder.
Are you sure it's not you making the sound?
This thing's like $160.
Jeez.
The keys squeaking aside, if you can just put that aside for a second, which is a deal breaker in and of itself. If that was the only problem, I would still be returning it. But I don't like the key feel. They feel small in a way that I don't think they need to. I think they could be closer together. The way this thing works, so it's Bluetooth. It doesn't use the smart connector. And the way the iPad connects to the keyboard is the keyboard has these little hinges that flip up. And you sort of slide the iPad into them. And Jason showed me the trick. Like, these hinges are very snug. I felt like I was sort of squishing my iPad to get it in there. And they're coated with there's a little rubber piece. So it's a metal hinge and a little rubber like liner. And on the left hinge, when I put the iPad in, the rubber comes off and slides down with the iPad. And so you have this like metal square hinge like millimeters from the glass on the front of the iPad.
Perfect.
Which is not what you want. So the keys squeak. I feel like it's going to just destroy the front of my iPad if I'm not super careful with it. But the real kicker, I've saved the best one, is the iPad sits too far down in the hinges, and you can't activate multitasking with the swipe up from the bottom because you can't reach the bottom of the screen. So with the older, like with the 9.7 or 12.9, those side bezels are still bigger, and they work, but they didn't take this into account when designing the 10.5. They didn't make the hinges shallow enough. And like even like wedging your finger in between the iPad and the keyboard, you cannot reach the bottom far enough to activate the dock, which I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but iOS 11 has a new multitasking system. Have you guys seen this?
Really?
Oh, really?
It's incredible.
Oh man, I should read some reviews of that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a walkthrough somewhere you could read, but you can't activate it without the keyboard shortcut. You can't reach the bottom of it. So I'm like, I spent a day and a half with it. I emailed them today before starting the show. I was like, please just send me a label. I need my money back. Like this is.
So I want to just before we get follow up, right? Probably there's one thing I know, and there's one thing that I kind of know. The one thing that I know is that there is a keyboard shortcut for activating the dock.
Yes.
Right, so you can do that. I'm also assuming that they have a home button, right, key. I'm assuming that if you double tap that, it will probably go into multitasking mode. Right?
Probably.
Although you can double tap the home button, but it's not the point. Right, it's just like this isn't you not knowing the device that you're building, and I understand that when they built this, right, because they show it like their website, all of the product images are iOS 10. So I get that they didn't.
But
know
we
this.
knew about the 10.5-inch iPad minutes away from knowing about iOS 11. It's like they stopped watching the keynote. They're like, oh, I guess that's all there is. We should get started on this and like turn the stream off. I just didn't notice.
It's like, all right, we got all the information we need. But the point is, though, irrespective of all of that, right? Like, if you can't activate it, it means that it's too far down anyway. Like, whether the dock is there or not, like it's too far down, right?
You can't bring the dock up at all. You can't reach the bottom edge.
So yeah, they failed. Surprise, 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 surprise. Bridge failed.
I want to like it. I really do.
This was me.
Like,
it was perfect, right? It is not a case. It's just a keyboard, right? So it doesn't add 17 pounds, and it has a infinitely adjustable hinge and a great keyboard. It was exactly what I was looking for with mine. I mean, it's Bluetooth, which isn't ideal, but the battery lasts a really long time.
It's backlit, which is awesome.
Yep, but they just fail in so many peculiar ways.
And I didn't even mention. So I ordered it when we were in Chicago. I got an email the next day from them, like, hey, your order's been dispatched. And then I got a second email from them that day saying, oh, by the way, some of our early units, the left hinge isn't mounted like center on its post, and you can't put the iPad in it, and you need to like let us know, and we'll send you a new one. Like, shipping from the factory, the left hinge of some of these is broken already. Mine did not display that issue. It was like the first thing I checked out of the box, so I guess mine is late enough in the run where they caught it. But it's like that's not what you want to see. Like you spend a bunch of money on something, and then they send you an email like, "Oh, it may be broken. Like just let us know. We may have messed this up." So it's going back, and their customer support's been really great. But
yeah, they do have good customer support. Right, we've all returned keyboards to them now.
they should really pivot as a delivery company because they're really good at shipping and returning items and taking care of shipments. So that's something they got going for them.
Brutal.
But I mean, I'm just sad because this is also my ideal keyboard. It looks great. It's got the you can adjust the hinge whatever you want, but it's also kind of not a keyboard because it really doesn't work for literally everyone I talked to who bought a Bridge product, specifically for the iPad Pro. They had at least 1 or 2 units that they needed to send back, which is not a good sign. I think.
Right, and if I were in love with the way it felt and didn't squeak, like okay. But you can't fix the hinge depth issue. Like they can't replace it and it be better. And again, you can use the keyboard shortcut and stuff, but that's so ingrained already. And when the dock is up with the keyboard shortcut, you only kind of see the top 2/3 of the icons because the bottom of it is like slid below your field of view. It's just not great.
Ooh.
Federico, you bought some stuff. I've bought some stuff. Dear listener, it is now your turn to buy some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We have over at relay.fm/store, we have the triumphant return of the AirPod sticker case that makes it look like a thing of floss, and now looks like a cinnamon flavored floss, which is nice. But we're doing it as a bundle, 2 stickers, and a Cool Fresh Shows t-shirt.
Yep.
This is a pre-order, so note that they will ship in mid-December, but this stuff looks awesome, and we're super excited about it.
Yep, so it's an awesome t-shirt with the original design, and then we have a version 2, which is red now instead of green, of the stickers, and you get 2 of them now, so you can use one on your AirPods case now, and then when you buy a new one, so you can use the inductive charging later on. So we think about you. You'll have a second. They're really great. I have had my AirPods sticker on my AirPods for a long time now, and I'm looking forward to replacing it with a red one. As Steven said, we're going to be... Okay, so here's the thing. We put these up on our store, the original stickers, a while back, and they sold out in like an hour or something. Like it was bonkers.
Hundreds of them.
Yeah, we sold hundreds of them in like an hour. So we decided this time we wanted to make sure that we gave a period of time that everybody that wants this can get it. So we're doing the pre-order, and then it's going to ship later on. We also decided to bundle it up with a t-shirt for a bunch of reasons. One, because it's awesome and cool. The other is like it helps with the shipping, because especially with some of the international shipping, it's fixed rate anyway, whether we send just 2 stickers in an envelope or a t-shirt, right? So we figure, why not do it all? I think it's a cool package, and probably a good holiday gift as well. So there you go. So go check it out. We got it in the store. It's only $25, and we're going to be shipping them all out from Atlanta. I'm sorry if you're international. We can only ship these from our fulfillment center in Atlanta, which is provided by the wonderful folk over at Knock. There's no way we can do it from Europe, I'm afraid. So there is a more expensive shipping here. But if you're a Relay FM member, don't forget to check your email. In the last newsletter, there is a code that you can use to get... What is the percent off, Stephen?
Members get 15% off.
Right, so there's a code if you're a Relay FM member to get 15% off anyway. But yeah, so that's the case. That's that's the stickers for the case and a t-shirt, and you should buy them, and then you can be cool and fresh too, just like your AirPods.
So Mike, I woke up this morning like I do most mornings with text messages in our connected thread, and then in that was a direction to go to Twitter. You had quite the morning, so share your morning with the class.
So I didn't even really want to, but you wanted me to, because it was like I was just so annoyed, and I'm just over, like it's done now. But okay, I will share my morning with you. I'm going to put in the show notes some Twitter threads. I also just wasn't very good at Twitter threads today. just adding to the whole hilarity of everything. So there's 2 tweets. There's different parts of this Twitter thread that kind of can illustrate to you the problems that I had this morning. So I was on my iPad. I was on iOS 11, not on a beta version, just standard iOS 11. And I was in the Files app, and I wanted to clean out some files that I had in there. I had like 3 PDFs and some like attachments that have been downloaded. I had like 5 things. So I selected them all, right? So like I did I think there's like a button to select multiple things. I selected them all. I pressed delete. When I pressed delete on these 5 items, I 100% just had these 5 items chosen. An unknown amount of things deleted from my iCloud Drive storage container in the Files app. So I had a long list of folders, and a lot of them just disappeared. They were gone. Namely, one of these, the most important one, was my Pages folder, which has like 120 documents in it. Now, I have backups of all of this stuff because usually these things go from iCloud to somewhere else. But I also just didn't want to lose them because I very frequently open Pages and I go to a recent document and I duplicate it, right? So it's just simple. But they were all gone. The folders were gone. The documents were gone. If I searched for the Pages folder, I could find it in search, but couldn't. But then when I accessed it, there was nothing in it, and it wasn't showing anywhere. When I opened the Pages app I was on my 12.9-inch iPad Pro, it brought up the file picker, but no Pages folder. When I created a new document, it just saved it to whatever location I chose. I then was like, something bad has happened. Let me force quit. Force quit, nothing. Restarted, nothing. These folders were just gone. It's like, I've seen stuff like this before. Files can be a bit weird at times, so I decided to go to my 10.5-inch iPad Pro. It saw the exact same stuff. All the files were gone. All the folders were gone. All the files were gone. Again, no idea just how many, right? Because it was just, I don't keep a list anywhere of all the folders that I have in my iCloud Drive. It's just a bunch of apps that have their container folders in there, right? They're all gone. I went to the small iPad. They're all gone in files. I opened Pages on the small iPad. Pages wouldn't open. I was just a white screen, blank white screen. Wouldn't open. I assume because it's looking for something that doesn't exist.
Jesus.
So I thought to myself, right. And the recently deleted, so it's recently deleted, just had a bunch of random files, none of the folders, and huge, just not there, like ton of stuff not there. It's like, right, so how can I fix this? So I thought, right, the container of truth or whatever is iCloud. So I grabbed my iPad, I went to iCloud.com. It tells me that I can't use that website on an iOS device, so I requested the desktop version, got the desktop version, and couldn't find. So I went to Pages, that was just spinning, nothing. Right, all I could do was create new folders, new files on the web in Pages. Didn't have any of the files there, so I thought, okay, what can I do? Well, I know that I back my Mac up with Time Machine, and I know that iCloud Drive, all that stuff is locally stored. Right, on the device. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll go there. So I went to my Mac, I turned it on. My Mac had the exact same amount of folders, like the 6 folders or whatever that was on my iOS devices in the Files app. So then I went to Time Machine. Time Machine had almost 3 times the amount of folders, right? Just lots and lots and lots of things that have disappeared. Some of them, honestly, that I didn't even know were there. So I don't really know where this was all being pulled from, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff that just wasn't showing. So the first thing I did, and this I was kind of I was fooled by this, right? Just the UI wasn't very clear to me. The restore button is grayed out in Time Machine. Now, what I actually needed to do, which I didn't know, was to select each folder that I needed to what I wanted to restore. Like in my mind, I don't know why I thought this, but there would just be a restore button, and I'd hit it, and it would replace everything, right? But it didn't do that. I ended up later on doing this, but this is another part of the story that I'll come back to in a minute. So then I went to iCloud.com because Maybe there was stuff in there that I wasn't finding. People were telling me that there is a more file recovery restore files thing. So I went to the restore files on iCloud.com, and there was a list of files. It was like 120 files or something. No folders, just the files. And there was 100% not everything in there, because the files that I actually wanted to delete, right, so what started all of this, they were not showing up in the restore files dialog. They were not there. A lot of my Pages documents were there, but I do not have faith that I restored everything, because I didn't restore the things that I purposely deleted. So where are they? So does that mean that there are other things that I don't know about? Right, so this is where I am at this point. Then I decided that I would just restore these files. There's 142 files. I started restoring them. Then I got an error on iCloud. So this is on iCloud.com. iCloud driver stopped responding. I got that error. It had a very helpful create radar button, which I decided to just ignore and press the send to Apple files thing. I'm just not going to file a radar for this. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Not doing it. Not a developer in this instance. I'm merely a customer, right? Customers shouldn't file radars. That's not what this is. You can send feedback, right? Feedback is a different thing to radar, right? The feedback system that you can get on iOS betas is way more friendly than the radar system.
Wait, do you mean we're not morally obligated to filing radars?
Turns out you don't have to do that. I didn't want to do that. So I decided that what I would do, be helpful, I pressed the send to Apple button. So it sent some diagnostics. Someone can look at that somewhere if they really want to. But I decided that, considering I was dealing with a potentially massive data loss problem, I did not have the time in my day to sit down and create a radar for it. Sorry, everybody. That's just where I was in my day. Then I refreshed the page. There was nothing left to restore, so I'm assuming that it restored all of those files, and then somehow iCloud balked and just died on me. So what it ended up being was I had some of my files back. And they were in iOS. The folders were back, right? So when I restored the files, it somehow restored the folders, and I had a Pages folder with 111 documents back. I have no idea if that's the right amount, but they were back. Then the Mac saw them too. But then what I did was, I thought, because somebody said to me, oh, you can select files, right? And in the Time Machine, and you can press restore. So I was like, okay, I'll do that and kind of compare them. So I did that. I selected the files, I pressed the restore button, and what I had was 36 folders with the name documents. Which is, again, not very helpful, because what I'm assuming is, and I could click into them, that these are by application, right? But one, I don't necessarily know which one relates to which, and two, I can't then take those and put them back into iCloud Drive when the Pages folder didn't exist. There was no folder anymore, and I couldn't recreate it. So, this is where I am. I have some stuff back. There is some stuff that I know isn't there that I wanted to delete but couldn't restore, so I know that that couldn't come back. So what that means for me now is I am having the worst kind of data loss problem. I don't know exactly what I've lost, which I think is the worst kind of problem, right? Knowing what you've lost is one thing, but not knowing what's gone is more concerning to me. Now, this is all in Backblaze. But in Backblaze, I'm going to have the exact same problem as I have with Time Machine, because it's just going to see it the way that macOS sees it. And for some reason, macOS sees these iCloud Drive documents as just these weird folders that when they're backed up, you can't restore them as they were. And so I'm just going to be in the same problem with that. So the files are in theory there, right? And again, I'm just trying to make sure I round out my discussion here by bringing up all the points that have been brought up to me today. Why do I use iCloud Drive? I use iCloud Drive because apps like Pages, that's where the file storage goes. That's just where it goes, unless you choose to save it somewhere else. When I'm done with a Pages document, I export it to Dropbox. But these are all the working files, and this is the copy files and stuff like that. Some applications, they create on iOS, their whole file structure just lives in iCloud Drive. That's just where it is. And also, I've never had a problem before, and I didn't expect that when I deleted a random PDF document, it was going to also take down my Pages folder with it, which it wasn't even inside, right? This isn't something that I had anticipated. So I can tell you I will use this less, but apps like Pages, if I create a new document, this is just where it saves it, right? Like, this is just where it goes. So yeah, this is where I am. I'm very frustrated with my morning because, as is usual with a lot of this stuff, especially iCloud related, I have very, very little control as a user for how to restore this stuff. And something happened which is out of my control, and I don't really have the tools that I want. So, like, for example, if this happened with Dropbox, I can go in and restore all the folders. Their restoring feature is fantastic. It has everything. I've done this so many times. You can restore files, you can restore folders. If you restore a file, it reinstates all of the document structure that it was built in. So if it was in 6 nested folders, it recreates all 6 nested folders so it keeps the context. iCloud Drive, whilst showing that it has a restore files dialog, it was nowhere near as clear, and I know it didn't restore everything. So this is where I am.
So this is just horrible, Mike, and I feel like I need to tell you that you're going to get a bunch of people who are going to be, well, actually on Twitter and come up with all kinds of crazy explanations, and I just want to tell you first, it's not your fault.
Oh, I know it's not my fault, but thank you.
No, I just want to make sure that, that you know where I stand. It's just a terrible service, and I think we discussed in the past that one of the problems with Apple services, and especially iCloud Drive, is that it's just so opaque and it doesn't show you what is going on behind the scenes. There's an argument to be made for simplicity, right? But when that comes at the expense of user control and data loss and being able to restore your data, well, that is not simplicity, that is bad design. And I believe this is a case of bad design with a very practical and problematic conclusion, which is now you don't know how many files you lost, and you had to go through this hellscape of a data restore process. I'm really sorry that this happened to you, and it's it should be like Apple should consider these stories. When, for example, when Apple had when Steven had the problem with the photo library, and I remember a bunch of stories from Twitter. Like, this shouldn't happen in the sense of a user shouldn't have to go through this. It should be a simple button that says restore deleted files. Dropbox get this right. Other cloud services get this right. Why do you have to slap this sense of this is so simple, this is so artistic, this is so intuitive on top of a cloud service when bad stuff happens? And this is bad stuff, right? There's no way around it. This is not an opinion. This is just a bad problem and a bad design. It's not like, well, I think iCloud Drive is great. Well, that is not helpful, because I know we're going to get a bunch of people saying, oh, they're complaining about iCloud Drive. I think iCloud Drive is perfect. It's never caused any problems for me. Well, it causes problems for other people.
I had that opinion until this morning, right? It's fine to think that until your files get deleted, and then it's not so great anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And now there's no single magic fix to make sure that problems don't happen, but you can prevent this kind of process from happening by having options and features and a different design that allows the user to see what is going on, to control what is going on, and to easily restore stuff. This is not so difficult to have a restore feature. It's on the web somehow. Make it available everywhere. It's not so difficult, really. And this is just so terrible, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this was my biggest problem with a lot of this, right, was I have a busy day today, and I spent an hour dealing with this. It's like, I am trying to be a professional user on iOS, right? Like, don't make me look a fool, because that's how I feel, right? I feel like, oh, well, now I'm a fool for using this, right? Like, I chose to use what Apple was trying to say is the method for professionals, which is the Files app, and then the Files app just chewed up a bunch of my documents for me. Right, and so now who's the idiot? Right, it's me, because then I spent a bunch of time on the Mac trying to deal with it, and the Mac can't handle it because the Mac's not built to understand how to use iCloud properly because it was bolted in, right? So it creates these weird folders called documents, which doesn't make any sense when it's coming from an Apple Time Machine backup, right? So it's like, where is all this stuff then? Where does it live? What is it supposed? How am I supposed to use this, Apple? Please tell me, because you're really making it difficult for me to keep to the year of optimism here, when you
Yeah.
you delete like 200 of my files in one strike. I only wanted to delete 5, and instead they cleaned up 200 for me. So thanks.
In a different folder.
Just completely different folders, like multiple folders. Like my workflow folder was deleted with my like preferences, like just like so many, right? It's like maybe like 10 folders, 5 folders, just all gone with all of their content. Like, should you not maybe like if someone's deleting that amount of stuff, just be like, hey, do you want to delete this? Like, you're deleting like 200 files in one go. Are you sure about that? Like, if I do that on Dropbox, I get an email where they say, hey, 200 files got deleted. Do you want to check this is okay? But, hey, huh?
Yeah.
That, the opacity around all of this, I think, is an interesting point. For some stuff, that's fine, right? Like Safari bookmark syncing, contact syncing, those are pretty simple systems, right? You put data in and stuff happens. But with files, I absolutely agree that there should be safety nets where, like you said, hey, you just deleted a bunch of stuff. That's weird. Are you sure you want to do that? No, I don't. It was an accident. Or we deleted it for you. Like, that stuff just shouldn't be feasible.
You sure you wanted us to take care of that? Like your help?
We got real excited. But the lack of a decent recovery, especially from iCloud.com, is what is the grossest thing to me here. That, like, the Files app shouldn't have done this. That's super bad in lots of ways. But your recovery should be bulletproof. Like, and forget Mac on the Time Machine, right? Like, lots of iCloud users don't use the Mac. But iCloud.com recovery should be perfect. Like, that is the place that they should have that right. And the fact that it didn't work, like, I've actually been on the fence about using iCloud Drive more, about putting some stuff in there that I would like accessible on the internet, but don't necessarily need all the time. And I'm just not going to do it. Like, I just don't, like, this is really worrisome. And I hope that, you get this resolved. I hope that maybe Apple intervenes, or if you decide to talk to Apple about it. But that recovery not working is the most problematic thing I've heard in a long time about Apple software.
So it's like, okay, so just the recovery thing, right? Like, what I recovered, it recovered well. So the files that I recovered, they went back into a folder. Like, the Pages folder was recreated somehow, and the Pages documents were put back in it. But as I said, there were files that I had deleted that didn't come back. So, like, I don't know what's happened with those, right? Maybe they're still in recently deleted on my device, but why are they also not in the Restore Files dialog? And another thing is just the UI of the Restore Files dialog is maddening. You can see 4 files, right, at a time, and it doesn't give any real context for them. And that's kind of, and all you can do is you just select them and restore them. You can sort them, but that's kind of all you can do. And then they delete permanently after 30 days. So it's good that they have something, but compare it to Dropbox, and they're miles apart, right? They're just miles apart. Like, even just with the way that the UI is done. So on Dropbox, when you go do it on the web, you see a scrolling list as big as the screen can fit of all of your files in it. Just little things like that, right? Like, if I'm looking for a file, I'm going to have to scroll this list where I can see 4 at a time. And it's just not good. And you know what you're saying about, like, because I know you had this, I know, Federico, you've had this where Apple contact you, someone at Apple contacts you. I don't want that, because that's not how this stuff should work.
Right.
I shouldn't complain on Twitter and then somebody contacts me to try and fix this. That is not a solution to this problem, because they will not do this for people like who are trying to get support. There might be something you can do. Like, somebody in the chat said that, like, they had this problem, so Apple reset the iCloud settings and data. So you lose other information to get this stuff back. I also don't want that, right? Like, I don't want someone to say, "Oh, we can restore it to yesterday, and you're all good." It was like, no, but now what have I lost from today, right? Like, this isn't a solution. Like, where I am right now is where I'm going to stay, which is I've restored a bunch of things. I can see that stuff that I need is back again, and I can use Pages again. And what I've lost, I've lost. That's kind of just how this is going to be. And I'm just going to have to hope that I saved everything I needed in Dropbox, where everything should be. And who knows what other problems I'm going to pop into later on. But like, I don't think that a real solution to this problem is like, this is fine. I think, you know what? I don't even know why I started tweeting about it, right? Like, I don't know why I did it, but I was just angry. So I started tweeting, but I don't want a resolution from it. Like, for someone to come and help me.
I mean, you're not paying a subscription every month to have someone from Apple call you on the phone and fix your problems. You're paying a subscription for iCloud Drive, which is a service that is supposed to just work.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's not like everybody has 20,000 followers on Twitter and can make noise and get Apple people to notice and get PR people to notice and send you an email. This is stuff that should work at scale for millions of users. And
yep.
Once again, I wanna reiterate the message that it's not like we're asking Apple to be perfect, because nobody is when it comes to web services. Not even Google Drive, not even Dropbox.
I do not expect perfection.
We do not expect that, but because we know that problems are going to happen, we should have the precaution of putting features in place before things go wrong, so that when they do, you can actually fix them.
Mm-hmm.
That is all we're asking for.
Yep.
Well, Mike.
I'm sorry, buddy.
This was I didn't want to talk about it. I'm all angry now. I just my morning was destroyed and just wasted. And I part of me was tweeting it out of frustration. Part of me was tweeting it out of hoping that someone could fix, like, could give me a thing. Like, oh, just tick this and it's all good again. And people were giving me good solutions. There were a lot of like, why didn't you try this? Why didn't you try that? Like, I didn't even know that there was a restore function on iCloud. Oh, by the way, that the restore files thing is tucked away as a text link on the bottom left-hand side of iCloud.com.
Yeah, I know. It's
like,
it looks like a footnote.
Are in panic, that is not what you're looking for. So like, I went to Pages to take a look to see if it was there. Nothing's there. It's like, yeah, it's like in the, when you get like those, you click on a website and it's like, what is it called when they put like all the links of the whole page, like file site structure or some name like that? You know what I'm talking about? Site map or something it's called.
Yes.
It felt like that. I was like navigating the site map because it was like, oh, it's like about tools, help, restore files. It's like, really? Is that where you're putting this?
Wow.
All right, things go wrong. Things go wrong all the time, and sometimes you need to have safety nets. And that's why I want to tell you about Pingdom.
Wow.
You can start monitoring your website and servers today at pingdom.com/relayfm. You'll get a 14-day free trial when you sign up there, and if you use the code CONNECTED at checkout, you'll get 30% of your first invoice. Stuff breaks. Websites break, websites go down, and you want to know when they do. Pingdom detects around 13 million outages with their customers every single month. That's 400,000 outages every day. They have an amazing network of 70 global test servers. These are emulating visits to your site constantly, checking its availability as often as every minute. And then if something goes wrong, you will be alerted. You will be alerted immediately, so you can fix that error before the downtime will affect you. Pingdom have an iOS app. You can set up email alerts, SMS alerts, push notifications. There's so many different ways that you can get notified that something is going wrong. And this isn't just like a binary, is my website up or down, because websites are more complicated than that these days. They have several dependencies. So you can not only just give Pingdom the URL you want to monitor for your entire website, but you can also have them look at contact forms and e-commerce checkouts and logins, search functionality, and tons more. So if anything breaks on your website, you will be the first to know. You just give Pingdom the URLs you want to monitor, and you'll be immediately alerted if there's any problem at all. They have fantastic tools and services. We use them at Relay FM, and if we've ever had any problems with our site, we know because Pingdom tells us. Go to pingdom.com/relayfm for a 14-day free trial and use the code CONNECTED at checkout, and you will get a massive 30% off your first invoice, which is just a great way to go check them out. Pingdom.com/relayfm, code CONNECTED at checkout for 30% off. Our thanks to Pingdom for their support of this show and Relay FM. So Federico, along with your many polls and quizzes, you gave us a couple of mysterious topics this week.
I've been a man of mystery this week.
And I think that this first one is going to make me feel a lot better.
Yeah, this won't make you happy. Mm-hmm. So, let's cut to the conclusion first. I'm using 2 iPads again.
Yay!
Oh,
the-
no.
Hashtag multipad lifestyle, everybody.
Yeah, just get it over with now, Mike. Use all the hashtags you want. Mike was right. Multiple lifestyle, all of them.
Oh, I wasn't even going to say Mike was right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Sure. This is your moment. These 20 seconds are for you. So, okay. I'm using the 10.5 iPad Pro and the 12.9, the second gen that I bought in June. And I'm doing this because I realized that I was missing having a bigger screen while I was laying in bed at night and reading or watching videos that was not heavy like my 12.9.
So had you been using your iPhone for this? Is that when you say a bigger screen?
Yeah, I was using my iPhone. I have an iPhone Plus, which a lot of my friends actually use the Plus for watching Netflix and movies, YouTube at night. But
Big screen.
which is a good solution. But after a while, it gets I wanted something bigger, but I also didn't want to use my iPad Pro, which a recent development of the 12.9 we mentioned. Was it last week? I feel like it was a long time ago. But I'm using the slim combo case, so my 12.9 is now in the hard plastic case. And while I could do something like when the workday is over, I remove my iPad from the case and I go in the bedroom, I really don't want to remove the iPad from the case. It's one of those things like laziness eventually wins. I know that it's actually even better than the old Logitech Create case when it comes to removing the iPad from the shell. But I just don't want to do that. I feel like I'm going to break the case, or the iPad is going to scratch, or I'm going to hurt my fingers because it's hard plastic. And I don't want to do that. And also, the 12.9 is heavy, and you cannot use it with one hand as comfortably as the 10.5. And on the other hand, the 10.5 is really great. It's really light. I really love the way that the device, the screen extends towards the edges of the iPad. So I had a talk with Sylvia, and I told her, look, you're now using the 10.5. I if you can, I would like it back, and you can use my old iPad Pro 9.7. She was like, yeah, wow. I don't care. She just uses it for music stuff, like downloading playlists and really light usage of the iPad. She has a new MacBook Pro and she has an iPhone, so she doesn't really use the iPad, and she was super fine with it. And so now I'm using the 10.5 with a smart keyboard because I don't want to have a slim combo for the 10.5. I'm using it for mainly for watching movies and reading my reading list in bed. That's all I'm doing. Some very light email before I go to sleep, or checking with I'm on iMessage and Slack. And I'm also planning to maybe use this iPad when I travel. By travel, I mean when twice a week I need to drive and spend 2 to 3 hours in the car waiting for my girlfriend and getting some work done. I'm probably going to try with the 10.5 because I feel like the 10.5 will be easier to use in the car as I'm sitting, behind the steering wheel and just waiting. And yeah, this is about it, really. I'm still working from the 12.9 because most of my days I'm working from home. But when I'm done with the day and when I just want to relax, the other iPad is waiting in the bedroom and it's always charging, always ready to go. And I enabled automatic downloads for app updates and apps, which I do not enable on my main devices because I like to check manually. But on this other one, to reduce the stress of, well, now my things are out of date, I enabled automatic updates and everything seems fine. So, yeah. It's not really the multipad lifestyle.
It is. No, it is.
It is, but not as much as you, maybe, because I know that
you're using it basically how I use it when I'm at home.
All right. Yeah.
So you are 100% in the multipad lifestyle. And again, the multipad lifestyle can be anything. It's just, are multiple iPads in use in your life? If they are, then you live the multipad lifestyle. And you are living it. You're living it big time, Federico.
I qualify as a multipad lifestyle member.
Yes, you do. Your membership card will be in the post to you.
All right. All right.
I think that you're
Yeah.
using these devices perfectly, right? I 100% think that this is the right thing. It's mostly how I treat these devices. The 10.5 is the one that I travel with because it's easier to travel with, and I can get all my work done. I remain firm in that I believe the 10.5-inch iPad Pro is the best iPad ever made. Because it sits in the middle so perfectly that you can get most of what you need done on it work-wise very comfortably, and it is more comfortable than the 12.9 for enjoying media because it is more manageable, and there's more screen in the package, right? So like it looks better to watch and read on because there's less bezels. I think that it's a great device, and it is the one that I recommend to people most of the time now, unless they want to have an iPad in their life, which is mainly going to stay in the same place, which both me and you have, right? So like the 12.9 is great for that. But if you also want to be able to enjoy lots of media, then the 10.5 could be a better pick. But I and Federico now both believe that the ultimate pick is to get both of them, because then you can move around your life as you desire.
Yeah, and absolutely, I agree. And I feel like, because this is the question that Sylvia asked me, and I started my response before I realized, well, I sound annoyed, and I didn't mean to be annoying, but it's a question that some people on Twitter ask almost sarcastically every single time. Oh, why don't you use a Mac? She didn't mean it that way, but I needed to explain the context around my frustration with that question. And I think he also went through some of this, Mike. My reason for this is that I don't want to use a Mac anymore. I just prefer iOS. I like working from iOS, and ideally I would like to have iOS everywhere, and specifically I want to have the iPad software everywhere. Like I want my kitchen table to have an iPad built in. I want my desk to be an iPad. Like if I could have iOS on as many devices as possible, I would buy that kind of smart furniture if it existed. But right now I just need to buy multiple pieces of glass, so multiple iPads. I don't want to have an iMac. I don't want to have a Mac Mini. I don't want to have a Mac Pro in the future. I just want iPad. And we're, thankfully now we have multiple form factors, which is great. I don't know if in the future I will keep buying multiple iPads, or maybe I'll just keep one of these and upgrade my main one, like 12.9, because that is.
Trust me.
I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know. So I'm just, I'm just saying. But yeah, this is the way I like to live my life, and it's pretty nice.
I have a question for you though.
All right,
because you're talking about the Mac, and a couple of days ago you tweeted a picture of your Mac desktop. So what is that all about? What are you doing?
Well, I'm talking to you from a MacBook Pro now, because I know that Lightning microphones exist. Yes, I'm aware that there's Ferrite on iOS. But due to the way that I like to record podcasts and that Relay needs to produce shows, I cannot do that from a single iPad or from a single iOS device specifically. So I need to use a MacBook for recording shows, which is an important part of my life now. And I realized that my MacBook desktop situation was really messy, like dozens of folders and files and screenshots all over the place. And also no real order when it came to which applications I had installed, how my menu bar looked. So a few days ago, I just took a couple of hours and I went through my Mac, as I used to do once a week years ago.
Yep. When you were writing those hot Mac tips.
When I was writing the Mac tips you needed to know. I just took a couple of hours. I cleaned up my desktop, chose a different wallpaper. Which, by the way, comes from the My Nintendo website. So in theory, I'm not supposed to be sharing this because it's piracy. You need to redeem your points. And also you can see that I applied a slight modification to the wallpaper using Pixelmator. I removed the Nintendo logo from the right side. So now it's a pretty Super Nintendo right in the center of the wallpaper. Yeah. Yeah, I'm such a graphic designer. You can tell, I'm sure.
Graphically designed
it looks good.
I posted this on Dribble, so everyone can comment and vote for me.
I thought you were being serious for a second. Like, wow.
Yeah, for sure. I got my menu bar with Bartender taking care of those extra icons that I don't need to see all the time. I actually just noticed that Skype has a menu bar icon, which I don't understand why. But I only keep the time, notification center, which you cannot remove, one password, and copied, which is my clipboard manager in the menu bar.
And music too, right? You have like a music thing in there.
Oh yeah, that is called Statusify. I think it's a like a custom menu bar widget for Spotify, and it shows you the name of the currently playing song. And I had a surprisingly difficult time trying to find this kind of menu bar tool, because all of them were like, oh, we're gonna put a widget on your desktop. No, I don't want a widget on my desktop. I don't want to have a CD case on my desktop.
You put a widget on your desktop.
I don't want to have a CD case on like a plastic case floating on my desktop. I just want the name of the song that I'm listening to.
I used to have one of those.
Yeah, me too. Like Bowtie. What was the name? Bowtie?
Oh, I don't remember. But like it created a little jewel case that was on my desktop all the time. Wow.
If I wanted that, I would go back to my parents' house and look at my bedroom and a bunch of CD cases. I don't want that. I just want to see what the name of the song I'm listening to. And so I found that somewhere on GitHub. I think it works pretty nicely. So,
but you know what was funny to me? You know that thing called the fuzzy clock, right? Where it's
man,
where it's like, it's like 5:30. I thought that was the fuzzy clock. I was like, why is it saying maybe tomorrow?
I had the same reaction.
So there you go. It's actually maybe tomorrow by the Stereophonics. I didn't read far enough.
It could be maybe tomorrow if it's around midnight.
That's why I was like, wow, that's a weird one. That's a weird one. Like maybe tomorrow. I was like, sure, okay. They're getting a bit like introspective now. It's
I never understood fuzzy clocks. Like it feels to me like it takes more cognitive load to read the fuzzy clock than actually look at numbers and see what they mean. Because you need to look at a word and parse the word and understand its meaning. I just prefer simple numbers, and this is what I did. I just took care of cleaning up my Mac as a normal Mac user, which was interesting for a day, but that was enough. Yeah,
it looks good.
What do you think, Stephen, about like dock placement and stuff like that?
The dock should be on the right side.
Okay, so if you, I'm not getting into this again, but I just wanna point out how on iOS the dock is at the bottom. So that's all I'm saying.
It's not as evolved as the Mac is yet.
Oh,
that's all.
Sure, yes, that is totally the reason why. You're right.
Mike, you should have written an ad before we break up with
Today's show is brought to you by Ting, the mobile phone service that, get this, wants to help you save money. Ting believes that you should only pay for what you use, and with prices like $10 per gigabyte of data, the average Ting customer pays just $23 a month per phone. If you're in the US and you use a cell phone, you one of those people? I'm probably guessing that there's a strong chance that you are. You will love what the folk over at Ting can do for you. They don't believe in contracts, overage fees, or unlimited plans with tons of catches. They have top-rated, no-hold customer support. When you call Ting, you get through to a real person. Ting are focused on offering the best prices they can for their customers, and any savings that they can make, they will, and they will pass them on to you. 80% of devices made in the last 2 years can come to Ting, and they support both GSM and CDMA. And this is very apropos for the moment, Ting will also allow you to get the latest iPhones as soon as they launch, cough cough, along with Apple Care as well. So they work with Apple and they can provide all of that to you. So you can get a new iPhone directly on Ting. If you're stuck in a contract, they'll give you 25% credit off your early termination fee, and that's up to $75 per device that you bring over to Ting. To get started, head over to connected.ting.com and use their handy device checker to confirm that your phone can make the move. And if you're looking to upgrade, Ting has plenty of options of handsets available for you in their online store. Listeners of this show can get $25 on selected devices or as Ting credit just by going to connected.ting.com right now. So go there, see how much you can save, and we thank Ting for their support of this show. So talking about new phones, let's round out today's episode by talking about a couple of new phones. Let's talk about the Google Pixel 2. There are some problems. So I will say that I have seen a bunch of reviews about the Google Pixel 2 that are very, very, very complimentary about this phone.
Right. Yeah.
that a lot of people really, really like this phone. That it is exactly what people were hoping for, right, as an advancement to the Pixel line, and that the Pixel XL delivers on like the design that people were hoping for. Like apparently, it feels really good in the hand, and the screen is really big, and it's really smart, and all that kind of stuff. You know, I will put a link in the show notes to, as is typical for me, my favorite review of any of these devices, which is MKBHD's review, which I watched this morning. But you know, you can go to basically anywhere, and you will find a good review of these devices, right? But there are a couple of problems, and these problems have been mentioned in some reviews, not mentioned in others because they don't seem to be like completely every device, and or some people feel differently about them. So there's a couple of things here. One is a blue hue when you tilt a phone, the XL. So most of these problems seem to be kept to the XL, and we'll get into why that is in a minute. So when at certain angles, when you look at the phone, it kind of has a bit of a blue hue to it. And you may have seen this type of stuff with screens before. I think before screens started getting, was it called IPS? Where you can look at things from different angles and it looks fine. But like before IPS displays, you would look at a display and it would look weird from different angles. That isn't what's happening here, but it's a similar effect.
And it's worse on OLED displays. LCDs, IPS is nice, but you don't have this weird off-axis color shift like you do with the OLED arrangement. And
then the other one is display burn-in, which is something that happens especially to OLED displays.
That's not good.
Like I've seen, there was I can't remember which phone it was. It may have been the Samsung Galaxy line, because the problem is that Android has software buttons that are persistent on the screen whenever you're not in a full screen application, right? So there is like a back button, a home button, and a multitasking button. And they are persistent. They are always there. It's a black background, typically with a white outline. And on the Samsung phones, people noticed that what Samsung were doing was slightly shifting these icons by like just a pixel here and there to stop the burn-in from happening, right? Because they weren't staying persistent on one place. So every now and then it would move a little bit. Not so much that it was perceptible, right? But they would move it. Either something weird is going on, or Google's not doing this, or something's broken somewhere, because there are a bunch of devices that are seeing burn-in of these elements. This stuff has gotten so bad that The Verge, who had a great review of the Pixel 2 and were very, very complimentary of it, they've issued a statement, Dieter issued a statement, and they have pulled the score of their review of the Pixel 2 XL until they can get more information about this from Google. And they're mostly focusing on the burn-in as a thing, because the blue hue thing, people were seeing that in the reviews. And MKBHD said this, and I mostly agree. It's like that either bothers you or it doesn't. It's just a thing. Some people are more attuned to it than others. But burn-in on a screen after like a week of using it, that's kind of an unacceptable thing, right? When it's like visually perceptible, like that's just not good. So it seems like these problems are coming from the display panels that are being used in the XL, which is a LG panel. Now, the regular size Pixel 2 is using a Samsung panel, and that is not getting any of these problems. What it looks like is that LG are not good enough with their panels. And I don't understand how this stuff was not caught in testing and that they decided to ship this product.
I mean, it may be that a certain company just bought up everything else.
Well, okay, that is true, right?
A certain company that's launching its first OLED phone next week.
So the scuttlebutt is that Apple is using Samsung OLED panels, right? Like,
yes.
And so it is possible, right? We don't know this, but you can assume that maybe Apple went in with literally all the money and bought everything that they could that Samsung isn't using for their own phones, right? And so like that, basically Samsung OLEDs are taken off the market right now because Apple's buying them all. But, you know, I wondered to myself, was like, then what do you do if you're Google, right? Do you ship a flawed product or do you not ship it at all? Like, I don't know what the right option is in that. Like for them, like there's a bunch of different avenues there, but this is adding to more troubles for Google's hardware team, right? Last week we spoke about the fact that they had to disable buttons on the Home Mini, which there's been no resolution to as of yet, and now they have bad screens on their highest end $850 phone.
Yeah, it's not a good look, and it feels like they are working with hardware almost at a startup level. They're making mistakes that young companies would do, but at Google's scale and reputation.
Yeah, because in theory, they are a young hardware company, right? Like the Made by Google stuff is like 2 years old, right? Like this is how they're kind of doing this themselves now. But yeah, I agree with you. Then they can't make those mistakes, right? They can't. Yeah. Yeah, they're not in the position to do that.
Yeah, it's not like the essential phone. Like they come out and they have some issues with the phone, and you're like, well, I'm willing to cut them some slack because they're a young company, opened up for business officially this year, so I understand why. It's more difficult to understand why Google can make these kinds of mistakes, and especially how what's the process that led to these phones being released? Like, didn't nobody check the screen at a different angle? Like, this is basic stuff that people can walk into a store and notice by themselves.
Right, but then the other question is, did they test it and decided to just ship it? Right, like they may have known, right? They may well have known.
They may, and if that is what happened, I question Google's ability to make these kind of decisions, because could you see Apple, for example, or even Samsung with the Galaxy and the Notes, willingly releasing a phone that they know has these kinds of major display issues that reviewers and YouTubers and everybody's going to talk about? Can you see that happening for Apple and Samsung?
Probably not. But like the question is though, right? So like, yes, I agree with it. The question is, what do you do?
You delay the phone. That's what you do. You don't announce the phone. If it has to come out with a bad LG display, it doesn't come out at all.
So like maybe you make an LCD. Like maybe you put an LCD panel in it instead.
Also,
right? Which isn't as good, but like maybe you don't have any problems with it. Like, and I know that like, so here's another thing that I've been observing. I've been paying attention to this, right? Just stuff over the last week or two. If you think that the Apple versus Android wars are bad, oh boy, just look at how competing fans of Android phones argue at each other. Like, that's where the real nastiness lies these days. Like, looking at like the comments of some of these stories, it's like people are going crazy because they love Samsung and Google suck, right? Or like everyone's complaining when LG made this feature on their phone, but now it's on Google's phone. Everybody loves it. Like, it seems to be like that's where the fighting's happening now. It's like because these phones have this like soft cover. It's like a soft touch to them. It's like some coating that they do to the aluminium, and apparently like this has been on other phones, and when it was reviewed it was panned. This is what I've seen people complaining about, but now it's on the Pixel phone. People love it. Like there's so much fighting in like the fans of different Android devices. That was really surprising to me. I didn't really think that was something that's happening, but it's all different companies, right? It's like LG and Google and HTC and Samsung. I don't know. It looks to me that like if you want to get the best hardware, you should probably still go with Samsung devices. But the problem is that from the software perspective and the integration, Google makes the best, right? Like it's like, oh man, that sucks, right? Like if you want the best hardware, it probably isn't Google right now. Although Google probably have the best camera and they have the best integration with Android.
The little Pixel avoids all of this stuff,
but
because it uses a better display panel.
It doesn't look good.
I mean, it's a little chunky.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Like it doesn't look so good. So yeah, it seems like tough times. And you, obviously, with your ear to the ground, Stephen, you noticed that there was some hissing.
There's an article in Engadget this morning. Pixel phones reported to make strange noises. So clicks and high frequency noises. Seems like his gate has struck the other side of the fence.
Mm-hmm. Man, I feel bad for people that buy these phones. Right, I do. Like, genuinely feel bad for them because they're really expensive.
A friend of mine bought a Pixel 2. He did not do the XL, and he feels like he dodged a giant bullet. But yeah, it's an enthusiast device. It's expensive. Pixel phones, just like the Nexus line before it, don't sell in great quantities in comparison to other Android phones.
Mm-hmm.
And people you kind of go out of your way to get one of these. And so, yeah, it's got to be a real bummer. I mean, we would feel the same way with the iPhone 10 came out and it had issues.
I mean, I'm just going to say right now, there could be, right? Like, it's one of the reasons I'm trying to be quite fair, but you never really know, though, right? Like, this phone is weird and different enough in a bunch of ways, and we're hearing that there's delays, and, there could be stuff that we don't know yet.
There could definitely be issues with it. I don't think they would have this issue.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's right, like, if you had told me Apple was going to ship a keyboard that a piece of dust could destroy, I wouldn't have believed you, but this is the world we live in.
Here we are, right? So you never know. I mean, I hope not. But yeah, that's it. Oh, should we talk about that quick before we go? iPhone pre-orders end of this week.
Yeah. It's 2 days from now.
Wondering what our plans are about that. I assume we're all just going to try our very best to pre-order them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like multiple devices. I've got like a whole strategy in mind. Like,
so here's mine. Inspired by Michael and inspired by some Reddit threads. Gonna wake up 30-40 minutes before, because I think the last time I woke up 15 minutes before, and it was not enough for me to be
not enough.
As responsive as I wanted to be. So 30-40 minutes before, I have my coffee machine ready to go. Got my Apple Pay card ready. Make sure that, because I use a different Apple ID, and because the Apple Store app, so I'm just assuming everybody's going to use the Apple Store app because that's the best way to go. The night before, because I use a different Apple ID than my Italian Apple ID that I use on the Italian Apple Store, I will have to log out from my App Store account on all of my devices, log in with my Italian Apple ID, make sure that the Apple Store app works with my Italian account, and that it has all my shipping information up to date, and that Apple Pay is connected, and that also my backup credit card is configured in my account. And also make sure that in 1Password, I have my credit card information as a favorite, so that if I need to be, looking up some confirmation code, it's all ready to go. Then I'm gonna try and do the pre-order from my iPhone with the big iPad Pro and the small iPad Pro as backups. One of them, I think my iPhone is going to be on 4G and my iPads are gonna be on Wi-Fi, so that I have
this is way more than I was expecting. Okay, so you got like all the coverage.
So that if 4G doesn't work, or there's some DNS issue or propagation is different, I'm gonna have a backup device. And I think, Apple is gonna have a supply constrained situation here, so I'm thinking that millions of people will be waiting in line. So I guess if you want an iPhone 10 on November 3rd, you probably want the process to take less than 20 seconds, 15 seconds maybe. My only concern right now, which I want to check with you guys, what's your best strategy, is two questions. One, do you start the Apple Store app from like a cold start? Like, do you force quit the app before it's pre-order time, and do you open it and 20 seconds after the pre-orders open? Or do you keep the app in memory and you just refresh?
I force quit beforehand, open it just before the time period, and then keep trying to use it, and then keep force quitting and reopening until I get there. That's kind of the way I do it.
And of course, you select the iPhone model that you want as a favorite. So you just need to go into your account, tap the favorite, and tap buy.
I've never done that before.
You can speed up.
That's a huge time saver.
You can speed up the process.
Don't do it, Mike. It's useless. Don't do it.
We're not pulling from the same stock. We're in different countries.
You don't know that.
But what I want to know is, Apple says that, and I'm going to use my local times here, but that doesn't matter to the question. The pre-orders open at 9:01 a.m. So that minute, does it mean that I have to wait for 01, or do they usually go up like 30 seconds before?
No idea. I mean, I've had it where it's like 15
3
minutes
later.
Yeah, like there is no...
Okay.
There's absolutely no way. Oh, I got them as favorites now. Nice work, everybody. So they're just waiting for me now. And then I don't know. My plan is just like 2 iPads, the Mac, and an iPhone. Like, I'm going to be trying to order it on all of my devices and just see how it go. That's kind of my
All right.
plan. I don't have like as detailed a plan as you, Federico. Like I've done it already. Like I've changed the card in my account because I will be using a
Right.
different card to buy. So I've just changed that card now. So it's all ready, and so I've been spending on it the last couple of days, right? Like in iTunes and stuff. It's really annoying. You can't set a different card in the Apple Store app. Like you set a card in the Apple Store app, and then it updates your Apple ID with the card. It's like, really,
I know.
really, is that
know.
what we need to
I
do
know.
now? But I wanted to make sure that was all in there, so I'm not entering card information on the day. And then it's just a case of crossing my fingers and hoping that I'm going to get one. Honestly, I don't think I will.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem very likely.
I feel like it's not gonna happen. Something is gonna go wrong, or I'm gonna be slow. I'm gonna panic when I tap the buttons, or maybe my Touch ID will not be recognized by Apple Pay. Something's gonna happen. So I just want to make sure that, unlike the last time when I was kind of sleepy and also I wasn't thinking straight, this time I'm gonna wake up 40 minutes before, have maybe a couple of espressos, and then sit down and wait and refresh and buy. But it feels weird because I feels like I'm going into a battle. Really, I just want to give up all my money. So it's an interesting mechanic at play here, but that's where we are.
Stephen, do you have any other hot tips?
No, I think y'all have covered it. I've got the phones favorited, so I have not settled on a color. So my plan is, if the iPhone goes first, I'm going to order black. If the iPad goes first, I'm going to order white. Just leave it up to chance. And yeah, Apple Pay, have everything ready to go. It's 2:00 in the morning for me.
Oh.
Over the years, I've done different things. I've stayed up. That's a mistake for me because then I'm just super tired. So I'm gonna go to bed probably a little early and then get up about 1:45, get something to eat, come out to my office, turn the lights on, be awake, and get to it. So
yeah, at least this is the one thing that me and Federico get. Right, usually we don't get anything because we're not in the US, but we get pre-orders at a decent time, right?
Yeah.
The morning, because it's like 8 for me, 9 for you, Federico.
Mm-hmm.
It's 9 for me. Yeah,
I get 8 a.m. He gets 9 a.m. That's good. It's way better than
our friends.
East Coast,
our friends
man.
on the East Coast who are already tweeting us. It is worse for you at 3 a.m. That is worse, no doubt. But it is what it is.
How's the one true time zone now, East Coasters? Huh? How's your one true time zone treating you?
It's fine. They're all going to be underwater eventually, anyways. So it's fine. So I'm divided on color. I'm just going to leave it up to chance.
I don't care. I'll get whatever color I get. I'm probably going to try. I mean, I'm going to be trying all different colors on all different devices. Whatever I get is what I get. Because I feel like black I understand. I feel like I don't fully understand how the white one's going to look because it's different to how these devices have looked in the past. So because I haven't seen one, I have no real feeling about it. I'll just get whatever I get and not be upset.
What size are we getting?
Well, again,
256.
I want 256.
Okay.
Right, but if 256 is gone, I will get the 64 and then deal with it later. Right?
All right.
What I will probably end up doing is I'll buy the 64, and then in 3 or 4 months' time, I'll sell it and buy the big one. Right? That's probably the way I'll end up going with it. But I want to have one as soon as I can, so I can talk about it on the show. That's what I want it for, and I just want it. So I have the dual purpose of just want it. Oh, I have one last tip for anybody in London. Just anyone in London. This is my tip for you. Wait 20 minutes. That's my tip. Just wait 20 minutes. I have heard that if you live in London and you want to pick up at any of the London stores, just wait 20 minutes and you will definitely get one. That is my tip for anybody that lives in London.
What does that mean? Wait 20 minutes?
He's just
wait. Just wait.
People.
Just wait 20 minutes. It's fine. If you just wait, you just give it some time, wait 20 minutes, and you'll be able to get the phone, no problem. Or the other thing you can do is just stay tuned to my Twitter feed, and as soon as I tweet that I have one, then is the perfect time for you to order. That's my tip for anybody in London.
Yeah.
We should say Apple had their press release today, reminding everybody of pre-orders, and they have said that there will be stock in retail stores and that you should arrive early. So they want people to be lined up. They didn't say how much the stock is. I guess we'll see how our pre-orders go.
Yeah.
But part of me, so if something bad happens, right, and my pre-order is 4 weeks out, they don't bill you until the phone ships.
Right.
And I think up until that point you can cancel your pre-order, I think. it would be tempting to, if something goes terribly wrong in the middle of the night, to go early and go line up. Like I'm not in a big city. Like my store will have people lined up, but it won't be nuts. If I went out there at midnight, I would be early, I think. So we'll see how it goes. I don't want to line up. I've never lined up for a phone, but that's sort of my safety net. But I'm hoping I don't have to do it.
I haven't. You'll know next week if I'm going to do that or not. But I have entertained in my mind the idea that I might go line up. The problem that I have, my closest stores are two of the biggest Apple stores in the world. So how early would I need to be? Like 4 days early, right? I don't really know what I would do in that case.
Would be a good vlog.
Would it though? I'd just be standing in a line. I would go, if I'm going to do that, I would go like as early as the train could get me there. Like I'm not going to stay over, right? But like if I was going to get there at like 5 or 6 a.m., then I would do that and then just have my fingers crossed that they would have enough for me. I mean, the benefit is the lines will be long, but also if they're going to have good stock anywhere in the UK, it's going to be in Regent Street or Covent Garden, right? They're the two stores. Yeah. Right, they're the two biggest. Right, if they're going to have good stock, they'll have it there. I haven't made my mind up yet. This is going to be a real mess. It's interesting that they're saying this. They want the lines, don't they? And they haven't wanted those for a while. I think it might be because this phone has had pretty mixed feelings, right? That they might in the press, the press have been giving it pretty mixed feelings before it's even come out. So maybe they want to have a bunch of news reports with lines around the block again for this one to show that people care.
I have one final suggestion.
All right.
Remember that you have, I think, 60 days to add Apple Care Plus to your iPhone 10. So if you want to save an extra couple of seconds pre-ordering time, do not tap on the Add Apple Care button. You can buy that later. Like you can get the phone and then just go to the Apple Store or go online and buy Apple Care Plus the day that you get the phone. But when you're pre-ordering and you see the button that says Add Apple Care, if you want to save even an extra second or 2 seconds, you can do that later.
And if you're on the iPhone upgrade program, check if you can do the upgrade thing now. You can do this whole thing. I mean, the upgrade program people are probably going to get their phones before anybody else because you can literally go in, you do all of the checks that you need to do, you then choose the phone you want, and it's ready for you. So do that.
I think that basically puts you in line with the favorites. Like what you're doing in advance is the pre-authorization stuff.
Okay, but that's good because you don't want to be doing that. If you're waking up and doing that pre-authorization stuff, you will not get one. You will not get one, and that's why they're doing it. And I'm really pleased that Apple are doing this for those people because I think that if you're giving Apple money every month, right? Like you kind of this is the deal, right? That you're going to get the new phone. So I think it's good that they're giving options for people to fill in all of the paperwork they need to fill in ahead of time,
right?
Before
and none of us are on that program, right? Like I'm not.
No. There's no program in Italy at all.
Oh, really?
There you go.
I've thought about it. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it for a phone in the future. It won't be for this one because of the process I'll need to go through. But I've thought about it. I might do it one day. But this time I'm going to be buying outright. So connected listeners, good luck. If you get a phone, only tweet at us if we got one too, because otherwise we'll be sad. And we'll discuss next week as to how our plans actually went. If you want to find our show notes for this week, relay.fm/connected/165. Thanks again to our lovely sponsors, the fine folk at PDF Pen from Smile, Pingdom, and Ting. If you want to find Federico online, he's at macstories.net. He's at Viticci on Twitter, VITICCI. Stephen is 5toolpixels.net. He is at ISMH, and I am at iMike, IMYKE. We'll be back next time. Until then, say goodbye, guys.
Arrivederci.
Adios.
Eek, eek, eek.